What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and welcome back to another video guide. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the latest raid boss beatback challenge, Twilight Banquet Astaroth raid. And before we do start, like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel and I would really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's start this video. Alright guys, so we'll start this off as always in how you're gonna deal with the LUFENIA orb, which starts at the start of the battle, and it will not disappear as well. You do get 10 LUFENIA orb counters when the boss takes an HP poison damage, and you only get 1 when you inflict 2 or more debuffs in a turn. So this fight is basically built with X death in mind because of the HP poison damage. However, you can still do this with debuffers alone, but you will have to take advantage obviously of the summon and burst effects, and hopefully your burst character can inflict debuffs as well. Alright, now let's take a look at how the fight works. So basically the boss itself has a counter mode. You'll notice this when the boss is basically glowing. I mean, the text will appear, but in case you missed it, at least there is a visual tell. So when the boss is glowing, basically it is on counter mode. And what happens is when it gets broken, basically it will remove all its debuffs, and then we'll remove your buffs as well, and will hit you with a Brave plus HP attack. And that is pretty dangerous and very scary as well, because honestly they can pretty much one-shot your character. Now the bosses also have some unique debuffs that they can apply, like reducing your max Brave and initial Brave with a curse debuff. They also have your generic defense and defense down debuff, I believe, but the curse one is obviously the very annoying one. So what other things that the boss can do to you is they can also delay your turns, which is really annoying as well. And when they're entering their counter mode, they also get a massive Brave gain, and because of that massive Brave gain, you don't really want to break them, just get it low enough so you don't pretty much die. Alright, so now let's move on how you're gonna deal with this fight. It can be very annoying, but the biggest thing here is not to attack the boss with the aura. Wait for it to disappear, and you're just alternating between the two bosses. Single target damage is probably the best way to go, or go around this. Basically just making sure you're attacking the right boss and try to ignore as much as possible the other one. However, there is one way to lower the Brave from the other boss who has the aura, and that's by bringing characters that actually reduces the Brave but actually don't break, like X Death. Porum can do this as well with her follow-up attack. So there are some choices here, and you can probably just use your weaker attack to Brave shave that as well, so that you can survive its attack. Now, debuff cleansing is actually something that you may want to consider as well, because of that curse debuff. Reducing your initial Brave and max Brave can be very annoying and can be very dangerous as well, especially if you're relying on someone like, say, Warrior of Light for your tank, which the shield is basically his initial Brave. And trust me, in this video he dropped to 1 HP on my run, and that really surprised me. I wasn't expecting him taking any damage at all. And of course, I think you can also prevent this debuff by using Aerith. Again, a tank is highly recommended to bypass any HP damage or accidental counter attack. So I already mentioned Warrior of Light is going to be my pick for the tank in this case, because he can really prevent that HP damage for the most part. Alright, next up, let's talk about characters to bring. And honestly, this list is just getting longer and longer. I'm trying to erase a few names here and there, but honestly, for the most part, you can sort of bring as much, the characters, as long as you can manage the LUFENIA orb counter, obviously. However, debuffers are probably the way to go in this fight, especially if you're not relying on X-Death or if you actually didn't get him. So yeah, debuffers are the way to go. Now as for Cole characters, honestly, if you're gonna rely on Cole characters for debuffs, probably not the best way to go about it. I honestly feel like because you only get one LUFENIA orb counter with applying 2 or more debuffs, it doesn't really change anything because you basically use that turn anyway. So in my opinion, your main team really needs to have that, you know, double debuffs as much as possible, or HP poison. I really suggest just using X-Death in your team, and that way you'll be a little bit more freer in your selection when it comes to your call characters. Again, like Kurosame, Gabranth, and Jack are probably the characters that just come to on top of my head. And another character that probably will be very useful in this one is Amiditalion as well, because Amiditalion actually is another one of those characters that reduces Brave but actually don't break the boss. So Amiditalion can be used in your main team as well as in your Cole team as well. Alright guys, now let's move on to party compositions, and the first one that I would suggest is the team that I went with, of course, Vaughn, Warrior of Light, and X-Death, just making things so much easier when you have X-Death in your team. Amiditalion, Gabranth, and Kurosame for the Cole team. You probably could put Jack there because I started doing ones. I started doing ones later down the track, and honestly, thank God for, you know, Brave Battery, and that actually helped me, you know, get through it. Support, I went with another X-Death since I didn't get X-Death's what do you call it, burst weapon on this one. The support that I had didn't have one, so thanks for that. And Ramuh for the summon. Alright, now let's move on to the next team compositions, Tifa, Vaughn, and Porom. This is basically going to be single target or with the splash damage, obviously. Kurosame, Jack, and Ferris for the Cole team. You can pretty much replace Ferris if you really want to. Funnily enough, Vaughn is one of those characters that can actually apply 2 debuffs with his White Whirl. So you can, if you have his burst, you can use his burst time when the counter is going really low, and then, you know, just spam that White Whirl and you can get the LUFENIA orb counters up. So I guess the only thing that I would warn you is if you did end up using Ferris, she has a lot of frame debuffs, and honestly you do need some room for Vaughn's debuff so you can get the LUFENIA orb counter up. So just a little bit be careful, and try not to pile on the debuffs or the frame debuffs at least, so Vaughn can do his thing. And of course, for the support, I went with another X-Death. Honestly, it's probably the best support in this particular fight, and Ramuh for the summon. Alright guys, for the final team is a little bit on the defensive side with Warrior of Light, Aerith, and Tifa, Gabranth, Kurosame, and Jack for the call, X-Death again for the support, and Ramuh for the summon. Aerith can block that debuff, which will make sure that Warrior of Light can block all the HP attacks. Tifa, obviously, for the single target damage, and hopefully you can beat this fight. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to rely on the X-Death support a lot here because there's not a lot of debuffs that you can actually apply yourself. I would highly suggest, if you're using this team, that obviously when you're bringing X-Death, you don't replace Tifa, so that Tifa can abuse the turn manipulation and you can abuse X-Death's burst effect, therefore giving doing a lot of HP damage overall. Alright guys, so we're finally at the end of this video, and of course I'll give you guys my final thoughts regarding this fight. Honestly, this is one of those fights that, you know, one character seems to rule everything, and that is X-Death. X-Death is probably gonna make or break your run on this one. There are some X-Death less runs out there, But you know, my channel is kind of like trying to make it as much easier as possible for you guys. So if you don't have it, you try to look for a friend who actually has it, and that would make your fight so much easier. Like for example, the last team that I went, I suggested was an X deathless run, and I tried to, as much as possible, try to look for X deathless run. But at the end of the day, I still highly recommend bringing him along in your main team, and if not, bring a friend support of X Death. It's just so much easier, and I don't want you guys to be struggling trying to do this run without an X Death in your team. So overall, the fight itself can be a hit or miss, especially if you have it or not, or you have X Death or not, even as a friend support. But if you do have him, it just makes things so much easier. There's really no questioning that. Yeah, so basically that's it for this video, guys. Please do remember to click like and subscribe if you haven't already. It does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it if you share this video as well to other DFFO players who are struggling to beat the LUFENIA fights, and hopefully this video can help them, and therefore share this video to other players as well. And make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. Leave down in the comments below what your team was for this particular fight, and let me know if you have a different strategy. If I miss anything, let me know down in the comments below. This is Munchkins logging off. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next level.